tonight's webinar is going to be on this camera. It comes in a very large box, as you can see. And what we'll do, I'm going to go through the slides with you, and then what we'll do is we will set. I've got one on the side of the building, and it's completely out of the box. So we'll set it up from scratch, and I will guide you through how to set it up from scratch, and we'll go through it. If you have any questions at any time, just throw them in the chat, and we'll answer them as we go along. Let's do this. So onto the slideshow. So there's the camera. So what's camera's features? Let's have a look. So we've got, it's 4K, so it's 8 megapixel resolution. It's got 24 colors, so it's the ColourVu version. It is the ColourVu camera. It has WGR up to 130 decibels. It's got a 180-degree angle, which is brilliant. So like you'll see in the pictures further on how much you can see with it. It's got built-in AccuSense function, so it's got the smart human and vehicle detection. Also has built-in strobe and siren, so it's a live guard camera, and it's externally rated, so it's IP67 rated. Other features: it's got two-way audio, so you can talk through your app straight through, and it'll project out of the camera. It's 180 degrees. It's only a 4mm focal length, and it only works up to 40 meters of white light range. What do we get in the box? So open up the box, you'll get your installation instructions, drill template. You'll also get the weatherproof gland, the key for the safety screw, for the security screw, and a manual and a bag of screws. And then that plate. That plate is basically how the camera. So the camera, you screw that plate to your soffit or your ceiling, and then that camera locks into place, and you lock it in with the safety screw. This camera can only be ceiling mounted. If it's not ceiling, if it's wall mounted, you'll need a wall plate. You need I'll show you that's on the next slide. But that what you need is that to wall mount it. I've seen a lot of pictures on social media of people putting these cameras on straight on the wall just as they are. It don't work. The IP rating will just won't hold because your water will get around the edges. So to wall mount it, you need a plate. This is what we've used in the installation of the camera that's on the side of the building. Some pictures of the camera, so some close-ups. Obviously, that's what it looks like. It's got a reset button. It's got a place for an SD card. The back of it, if you can see there, that's with the plate on. That's without the plate on. So it has these 4 screws, 4 sort of bolts, which click into the plate, and then you spin it closed. And there's the picture of the security screws to tighten and hold it in place. The cable, the fly lead that comes with it. So you've got an alarm in and out, you've got an audio in and out, and you've got a network port and a 12-volt DC. The alarm in and out is so you can, example is you'd put an alarm out, you'd connect it to it. It's like a relay, so it's a dry contact, so you can put it onto a relay and close the contact and make a light turn on if somebody tripped a wire or tripped a line crossing or entered an intrusion box or something like that. Alarm in, you could wire in a PIR into it. Audio in and out, it's got a built-in mic and it's got a built-in speaker, but if you wanted something a little bit more, so for example, I mean, this camera that I put up is like 4.5 meters up in the sky. If you wanted something a little bit closer, nearer to the ground to listen and to speak out, you could put a horn speaker on it, and you can have your own built-in microwave. It's got the network, which is PoE, and then you've got 12-volt DC. The 12-volt DC is in a situation where you would not have the PoE, so you could power it locally, or it runs that far. You just need to power it locally with the 12-volt. That's what it looks like with the bracket, with it mounted on the bracket. The dimensions. If you want to have a close look at that, I'll leave that there for you all to have a good look at that while we're waiting. And then that's the dimensions of the base. So those of you who are joining, we're just looking through the slides of the camera of what it looks like, how it fits, and the dimensions of it currently. We're just going to move on to the next slide. There is a picture of a live view of that camera. So if you look at the angle, you can see well down that street. And even at night with the ColourVu technology, I mean, the ColourVu isn't actually activated there because of the light in the distance. So there's too much light there for the ColourVu to actually enable it, unless it needs it. The white light doesn't turn on. Shall we set one up live? So let's have a look. Come back to me here, and what we'll do is we'll log on to share my other screen. I've just shared you my SADP screen. So that's SADP. If you're familiar with it, you know what it is. If you're not familiar with it, so basically what SADP is like a network scanner for Hikvision. So anything and everything that's Hikvision should show up on here. So if you look at the top, there's my NVR, there's my access control system, some EasyViz cameras, and then I've got a switch there, and then also here, there's the camera. There's the camera that we're going to be working on. It's currently inactive because it's brand spanking new. It's not. It's just. We're just going to start it up now. So if you look at that, it comes with it. As you turn it on, when you initially activate it, it's got a IP address of 1.64. That is the standard IP address for all IP cameras that come out of the box. Also, I've added this to a network switch, not to the back of the NVR. If you were to plug it into the back of the NVR, it would activate itself and it would turn on itself. But we're doing it slightly differently. It's into a POE switch. So we're going to activate this camera. So click on the SADP tool, and it brings out the sidebar here that you can see. Myself out of the way there, and we put in the password. Did that one wrong? Oh, click activate. That device is now active. How I like to, you can actually put these security questions in, but I'm not gonna right now. So you can actually set the IP address yourself, but I don't like doing that. That way, you potentially looking at creating an IP conflict. So what I like to do is I enable the DHCP, put in my password, let it auto assign. So refresh it there. Come back to the device here. It still hasn't assigned yet. So refresh it again, and there we've got a .53. So then go back to the camera, and I disable DHCP. And now that camera will not change its IP address. It will stay there, and that's it. So we've got our IP address there. So it's 192.168.1.53. Got our port of 8000. Got the camera's serial number is up here, and the gateway, which is the gateway to our network. So next, we'll come back to me over here. You can see my screen. So that's my NVR. So I'm logged into my. I'm going to log out of that. So you can see that how I log in. Putting the standard username for all Hik devices is admin, and then the password is whatever you selected for it to be. This is logging to my NVR, so I'm just gonna log in there. And to be honest, it's already picked that camera up, but we're gonna play it as if it hasn't picked that camera up. We've got configurations. We're gonna go to camera management, and we're gonna come down to the camera 8, and we're gonna press the pencil. So put in the IP address there, which is 1.153. Well, we would change it from adding method from plug and play to manual. Put in the IP address there. Make sure the port number is 8000. Channel 1, which is the first. That channel is the stream number. So, for example, if you were using a thermal camera, you would be putting in stream 1 for the live view, which is what we see, and then the stream 2, which would be channel 2, would be your thermal view. So you'd change that. Some cameras have 3 or 4 streams depending on what type of camera it is. Put your password in that you sat on the SADP screen, and you press OK. And that, well, this one's online already. So if we go back to live view, it doesn't have a substream, so you can toggle what stream that you can use. So that particular camera doesn't have a substream, so we can live view it just like that. If you look at that, I'm going to change it to single mode. Can we all see that? That's the live view of that current camera currently. I love the angle on it. I love the fact that how much area you can see. Just going to check, see if anybody's got any questions. I'm going to stop sharing that screen for a second. And if anybody's got any questions. David, yes, there is. So I never use a screen. I always have a laptop. It just makes life so much easier. SADP are your friend. Your web browser and the Internet Explorer mode is your friend. Yeah, as long as you've got those two, it's running and you can do anything. There's no great need. Only thing you can't do is set the stream settings. But generally it just works out of the box, unless you've got something that's got a bit of a pixelated situation or it's just not right. You're going to need to plug in and get your recommended stream settings from the front end. But other than that, 99% of everything can be done from there. Anybody else got any questions? So let's go deeper. How many spaces on the NVR does this camera take? This camera takes 1. Some dual lens cameras, like for example the thermals, they can take 2. Some can even take 3. PanoVu cameras, the bigger ones, they can take 2 or 3. But this particular camera takes 1 space. It has 2 cameras, which it stitches together, which we'll show you further in when we go deeper into the settings. Great. Could you make a video on how to set up one from scratch without the screen at some point for me, please? Smash my monitor I use. Yeah, no worries. I will ask somebody to, well, there are people on this chat that can write that down, and then I will make sure I get on that. That's easy. That's no problem. We can do that. How high would you suggest mounting that camera? Soffit height. I mean, the camera that I've got mounted is up at 4, maybe 5 meters high, 4.5, 5 meters high, and it's fine. You got a really good angle, really good view. I mean, you can go as low as 2 meters, 3 meters out of the way, and then you can go right up to that, I suggest. Does this auto PTZ on? No, it is not a PTZ. It is just a panel. It's a 180-degree PanoVu camera. It doesn't have any movement functions or zoom functions. It is just a static camera. Right, I'm going to crack on looking at it in more in depth. I'll share my screen again. So on an NVR, I'll give you a bit of a NVR tour. On an NVR, I always like to go into when I set them up to start with, I go network, advanced, into other, and if you enable that virtual host there, that gives you the ability to be able to go into system and into maintenance. Sorry, in camera management. And then can you see the hyperlink that's on this side here? This hyperlink is so that you can log into the head of the camera. So if you've got, say, a PTZ or a thermal camera or this particular camera or any camera, any IP camera has settings that are in its heads. About 90% of them you can do from the recorder, but then some things you just can't do from the recorder. You have to log into the head of the camera. What you have to always be careful is if you do something in the recorder, it may affect the communication between the recorder and the camera, and then sometimes it misfires. It doesn't actually do what it's supposed to. PTZs are a good one. So if you've got a PTZ on an auto track setting, you do your line crossing or your intrusion in the head of the camera and not the recorder itself. Sometimes it just doesn't sync. So what your best way of doing it is, in that particular situation, you enable your functionality in your NVR. Don't draw any lines in your NVR. Save it. Do your linkage action, so it alerts mobile phones or emails or whatever you want it to do, and then go into the head of the camera and then create a line and add a line or box, and then add your human and vehicle verification and your auto track settings. Then, but that way you're pretty much solid. You know it's gonna communicate. If you do somehow sometimes find that it's not synced or it's not working properly, factory reset the camera. It's easy as that. I mean, I know sometimes it's a pain in the ass with the more complicated PTZ with the presets and trackings and the ranges and things like that, but sometimes it's easier to factory reset the camera and start again and fix them than trying to fix something that's just going to cause you more problems in the long run. So go back to the hyperlink. So there's our camera. We're going to click the hyperlink. This will take me, if you can see that, into a login page again. But this login page is not for the NVR. This is for the camera. So I'm just going to log in using the credentials I used to create in SADP tool. And if you look at this, it actually brings up one screen, one camera. So you got 2-way audio, you got flashing lights. I'll show you all that when we move over to the app. But for now, we're just going to look deeper into what the camera's got in the back end of it. So in the configurations of the camera, this will show more options than your NVR would. So you've got your normal your software version. Sometimes you don't need to touch any of this because the NVR controls all this side of it. Sometimes you need to upgrade the software on the cameras. You can do it via this method. Image stitching. This just shows you. So you've got so you can change the stitching distance of the camera. This right now it's set right in the middle, whereas you can change it so you use which camera you use more of and which one you use less of. It's quite clever. You can change that down to, for example, 5 meters. Save that. And if I go back to live view, look, it's actually changed the image. It's slightly, but it has. I'm going to take that back to 10. Then we'll. Maintenance. This is where you do your upgrades. You can even downgrade the information that you've put into it. So any changes, settings, anything, you can take that out. You got the new. This is new. This device auto maintenance. This is new on all new firmware. So basically, you can create a reboot time. You could say, right, enable it. I want my so you want every Saturday, Sunday. 1 o'clock in the morning, I want my NVR my camera to reboot, or device, maybe a camera, PTZ or NVR. That's what you'd put there. Security, Hik is very big on security, cyber security, especially. You can put stuff in motion on your camera, your NVR, PTZ, whatever, so that you literally solid it. It won't speak out, won't speak in. There's nothing. You can't get into it. Hik are very, very big on web security. User management. In this particular situation where the camera is connected to the NVR via a switch, I don't need to give anybody else user permissions. It just works. Whatever user permissions the NVR has, that's all the user permissions it needs. Network-wise, we've obviously already done this on the SADP tool. But then if you look down here, the DNS server is not actually the DNS server of our network. It's the NVR. The NVR is managing the whole communication side of it. So we don't need to do anything here. Port changes. If you've got a conflict on a port, you can change that here. Advanced settings on the networks, you've got your FTP, email settings, your platform access that gives you your Hik Connect. But and again, on this, it doesn't. You don't need it because you're using your NVR to do it all. Video and audio, you can change the stream settings. So if you look at this, the resolution, that is a different resolution to a standard 8 megapixel camera because of the fact that it stitches two 8 megapixel images together. You can frame rate, it only works up at 20 frames a second, this particular camera, but that's what we normally set our calculate our system for. H.264, H.265, but I wouldn't change anything in this settings as it's the NVR is controlling it, like I said before. Audio gives you, tell you what input mic volume you've got. What information is on the screen. Again, I wouldn't do that here. It's an NVR thing. If you're running this camera solely on its own and had an SD card in it, then yes, you'd change all these settings. You can change your day and night switch, how your white light works. You can turn your white light off. I mean, I've just turned it off there. Didn't make a difference because it's not actually on there. You got your backlight settings, your white balance, your image enhancements. Again, if your image is good, you don't need to tweak it, but then you can tweak it slightly if you need to. Here, camera name, date and time. Again, you do it in the NVR, not in here. Events. So you've got your option of your events. So here we've got the flashing light. We can say, right, this isn't in the NVR. So flashing light duration 15 seconds on a medium frequency. You can have it so it does it on a high frequency, so it flashes quicker or it flashes less, or just turns on. Audible warning. You could have a warning. You can have a prompt. You could have a prompt is like a bing bong, or you can have a custom if you can actually upload your own warning. Under warnings, you've got a siren, and then you've got a list of what you can have it set. I mean, I could press that and press test. Can't hear it in here, but it'll test. It'll be coming out of there now. Just put that back to siren. And you can schedule when you want your audio to work. You can have it doesn't work, so it doesn't work during the day, but it'll work on a night, or vice versa. And these cameras you can use not just for security, you can use them for health and safety as well. Smart events, intrusion, line crossing, region incidents. These are all normal stuff that's in a recorder. And if you had a SD card in here, you would adjust your SD card settings here. You would say, right, you'd format it in here, and you'd schedule it how you want it to record. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out of the head of the camera. We're going to go back into the NVR, and I'm going to. What am I going to do? I'm going to add it. I'm going to change its name, so you can see that we do that. That just every camera will always or a PTZ or something has a standard name. So if you had an NVR full of these cameras, 1 to 8, for example, they'd all be camera 1 unless you changed them. So we're going to call this one side. Oops. and we want it on day month year. Save. Done. This is actually a 16-channel NXI recorder, so it's got all the human and vehicle detection, and it's got the AccuSense functions built into it. So next, I've already added this NVR to my phone. I'm going to swap you guys over to my my phone screen in a second. So there we go. So straight into Hik Connect. This is a new version of Hik Connect. Let me know if you like it or not, because there's very mixed opinions on what people's thoughts on it. So there's the camera that we're currently working on. I'll change it to the side, and then we can see. So as you can see, we've got it all on Hik Connect. What's really cool is watch this. If you look at the bottom there, you've got icons, separate icons. So I can press activate the alarm output that's built into the. So if you had a light on there, you could press that and the light would go off. Got that. That's the flashing light. Can't see it flash. And then we've got. There we go. There's the flashing light. That's the wrong button. Turn it off. That actually illuminates the area quite well. That. And turn that off. And we can go into this. I don't know if you can hear there. It might create some feedback, but you can actually activate the two-way audio through here. Can you hear that? You can press that and you can be like, yo, get off my drive. My neighbors are going to hate me by the time we finish these webinars. Oh, we'll start the two-way audio. And again, you can change this into, if you've got really bad signal, you can go on to like I don't like it on the basic. Something I'll have to look into. But yeah, there you go. I'm just going to come back for questions. Has anybody got any more questions? Will the settings be different if you plug straight into the NVR instead of saying no? Everything's the same, other than the fact that it'll turn straight on when you plug it in. What does DHCP actually mean? Do you know what? I don't know. I just know it's dynamic something. I know it's got the word dynamic in it, but what it does, it basically DHCP auto assigns the IP address from the router. So, for example, your router doesn't have on a route. If you log into the router, you can actually turn DHCP on and off inside the router, so it does not assign IP addresses to devices. Then you have to manually assign them. But yes, you can. I'm not a fan of the new app layout. It's a bit chalk and cheese, that one. I like it, and some people don't. And I think they are asking for feedback. It's very much like the new version of the Hik Pro Connect, or HPP they call it now. If you guys haven't tried Hik Pro Connect, you need to. There we go. Someone's answered the question for me. Dynamic host configuration protocol. It's that automatically assigns the IP address. Unrelated to this camera, but how do we set up the DDNS for remote config on the Hik Connect app? You don't need to anymore. You've got Hik Pro Connect. Hik Pro Connect just works. So you always want this. Yes, but then turn it off. Enable it, get your IP address, turn it off, and then it's static. Then what? Basically, if you've got a camera with DHCP enabled and it's added to the NVR, after a few weeks, the DHCP pool sort of refreshes. Or if you reboot your recorder, sometimes it refresh. Yeah, not your recorder. Your if you reboot your my words, my brain isn't working. It's been one of those days. If you reboot your router, it'll reassign everything. So if you then just say, for example, that camera we've just worked on is .53 on the end, that might then become .75. But then the NVR is looking for something that's .53. So you have to enable it to get your IP address, and then disable it so that that doesn't change its address, and it carries on at 53. And then your NVR can look at it and then carry on connecting to it. What is Hik Pro Connect? Hik Pro Connect is cool. I'll share my screen. I'll show you Hik Pro Connect. Hik Pro Connect is the engineer app for Hikvision. As an engineer and an installer, one of the best things about it is that you could issue your customer an app, and then every time they open that app up, it's got your logos on it. Yes, I'll do another full video on another question. Can you do another video on the breakdown of Pro Connect, mate? Yes, I can. I'll just give you a quick look at what it actually looks like, and then you can. I've got on my phone, if you guys can see what I can see. So there's Hik-Partner. It's called Hik-Partner Pro, not Pro Connect anymore. They changed the name on it. So this is my Partner Pro. I've got. So you create a site, and inside the site, you then have. So this particular person here, you have his NVR, and then you can then go. You can then. I'm not sure that person would admit. If you look at these, we do pre-programming for customers. So these have some are online because they're still waiting to be out and about. We'll go with this one. If he rings me, he rings me. Right. So Hik Pro Connect. You log in. You see his NVR. It's 4-channel NVR. So you put your when you scan your QR code for your Hik Connect, you scan it on Hik Pro Connect first. Once you've scanned it on Hik Pro Connect, you then do a handover to your client, and then you ask for permissions to be the engineer. So you can then go in and you can literally do. It's like remote. It's like being the web browser. You can even do it on the web browser. Actually, you can do the time settings. So these are all the menus that were on the front end when we was looking at it. You've got the network. You've got the advanced settings. You've got audio, video. You can do events. You can even do smart events on his channel. So intrusions, particular customers, intrusion. You can enable it. Area settings. Area settings, and you can set up draw the area where you want it. Just turn it off. That was a quick overrun of Hik Pro Connect. We'll maybe do a video for Hik Pro Connect, a webinar on Hik Pro Connect, and how you can see it on your iPad and you can have it. How many sites can you have on Hik Pro Connect? You can have loads. I don't think there is an amount. And what you can do, you can pay for something called health monitoring. So if you've got a customer that's giving you say your service, it's a service customer where you're charging them for servicing a system, you could put health monitoring on a site, and basically anything that happens with that site, it will alert you and tell you, right, this site's gone down, this site's got this issue, it needs a firmware update. You can just do a firmware update straight from your phone. You don't have to go to site anymore. And also what's really good is you can actually add points. I mean, as an engineer, you open up your phone how many times a day? All you need to do is go into Hik Pro Connect, click check in, and you get points. I got 2,650 points, and with the points you can buy things like you buy health monitoring packages, so you can offset your costs with your points. Every time you add a site, you get points. I don't do any of that because I don't need to, because I'm no longer the sites that I've got are for engineers. And once you, for example, if you ask me to do a pre-program, I'd put it on my Hik Pro Connect, and once I've finished with it on my Hik Pro Connect and it's all running, I would then hand over to a customer. You can do daily check-ins. You get points for daily check-ins. You can get packages. You can have employee packages. You can, so for example, you've got a group of lads on the roads. You can then add your lads to this, so they've got their own login and they just use the same account. You can then put your own name on it, like the whole branding side of it. That all comes via that. It's very cool. Like I said, we'll do a much deeper video on it. Any questions on the camera that we've been looking at, or any other questions from anybody? Does it cost, or is it free? It is free. It only costs if you want to higher site of stuff, higher the adding more people to it, your branding. Well, the branding's free if you get the points, and health monitoring, that they charge for that. Can we look at the other products? What sort of products are you thinking? And is it only in ColourVu, or does it come in the camera? This camera only comes in a ColourVu, doesn't have a Darkfighter version of that yet. The camera position wise, since it's for 2 angles, does it need to be center of the house, or is there anywhere else you would recommend mounting it? I've put it on the center of my gable end, as you can see from there, and I get a good picture. I mean, I always, in my experience, I've always been able to say, do you know what? You can put a static there, and I'll get a good angle there. And I used to be able to I got very good at learning how to do that. So it's the more you fit, the more you get. But with these, I'd put in the center. That way you get like that full angle. Does it come in any other color, like grey? No, it doesn't. It's in white at all. At the moment, it's just in white. Personally, I would probably stick it in the center of the building so you get the full angle. Could you put it on a pole, or does it only come with an arm? Well, what you'd do is you'd put the camera on the arm on a pole mount, and the pole mount on a pole. What's the furthest you could run from the NVR? On a single run, 80, 90 meters. On a complicated network, you could go, I don't know, you could do fiber, and you could run 800, 900 meters on a fiber. Or you could daisy chain it and switch, and you can go as far as you need. But from the back of the NVR, 80, 90 meters, 100 meters. Can you do a webinar on the wireless signal receivers with cameras? Yeah, on the Hikvision point-to-points. They're a great product. Literally, there's not. I mean, it might not even be worth for a webinar. It might be just a video, because they're that easy to do. I could probably try out doing it in about 10 minutes. Why would you put this camera above all others? Are the instances where these would be best? If there's a longer, I've got a few now. If there's a run longer than 90 meters, can you use an injector to increase it? Yes, you can. So if you've got a 90 meters, you'd go say 90 meters and then another 100 meters from there, or with a POE switch or an injector, and then at that point you can go another injector or POE switch again, and then go another 90 or 100 meters.